Hello, my friends. Andy Falco Jimenez coming to you live from Yorba Linda, California. And got quite a bit to talk to you about, but I'm going to do my very best to keep this. I always say that because one of these days I'm going to stick to what it is that I want to do. And that is I want to keep this within about 30 minutes if I possibly can. But oh my gosh, I mean, you can't turn on the news. You can't look at your phone without, because I have notifications for everything, for Telegram, for Signal, for news on many different platforms, Rumble, and of course Facebook, and all those types of platforms. And the situations that are going on in this world, locally, nationally, and of course worldwide, are so many of them are happening because of the dummy that we have in the White House, and the dummies who voted for that dummy in the White House. That you could just look at, well, if we didn't have that, then this wouldn't happen. If we didn't have this, I mean, of course, we have Sacramento, who on their own, regardless of who's in the White House, just makes many of our lives here in California miserable. And those of us who have decided so far not to leave this state and to stay and fight, there just seems to be an unending number of not only policies that have been voted through that we have to fight against, but even conservatives that seem to get voted in that don't hold on to those conservative values, or become so self-consumed that they just don't like it when there's other people that are effective or doing what is right. And then they decide on their own that they want to make somebody else's life miserable. And so maybe I should start there with local politics and city council members. Now, I know there's many of you that watch this that aren't in California, that are maybe in another state, maybe in another country. We have friends on our Living Fearless Devotional that my wife and I do that is in Australia, and people that are in India and Europe and that type of stuff. Hold on, I'm sorry with my face here looking the way it is, but I've got to bring up my email so that I can bring up an email that I sent. And I mean, it's short, and so I'm going to just go ahead and read it out to y'all. And I'm going to actually share my screen with a newsletter that's done by a fantastic woman. I may have met her, but I'm not sure. She lives in our community. She writes a newsletter on the shenanigans here in our city, which is Yorba Linda, California, and brings up many things. Now, so far, and again, I wish I read every one of her newsletters that she sends out, but I can't say that. I read a lot of them and pay attention to what's going on. But I think I agree with her, at least on most things. And so I sent a letter to the city council, where the city council member, Janice Lim, is a city council member who ran as a conservative, but she acts like a liberal. She tries to destroy what other people are doing in the conservative space, by bad-mouthing them, by going to what we would probably call the enemy and hugging up to them and going arm in arm with what would be considered liberal school board members. And the reason I say that is because they're really supposed to be nonpartisan, but we all know the politics of all of our school board members, whether they're conservative leaning or Christian conservative or liberal. And so we have two liberals on our, although one of them ran as a conservative. It's rampant everywhere, that we have this city council member who pretends to be conservative and ran as a conservative, but finds every way that she possibly can to interfere with conservatives in our party. So I'm going to bring this up to the screen here, and I wish there was a way. Let's see if there is a way. Let me go into this other screen here for me to pop it out. See if I can put in a new window. Oh, I can't do that because then you guys won't be able to see it. Well, I guess this is really the only way that I can do this. I thought I did it on my other computer. But you have this city Councilwoman Lim. And Nancy, in her newsletter, writes the backstory is during the earlier controversy regarding mandatory mask and vaccines within the PYLUSD, which is our school district. Councilwoman Janice Lim, elected in 2022, supported the teachers' union. Now, okay, listen. that is all you really need to know, right? When you have a conservative siding with, again, I should use quotes, a conservative siding with the teachers union, we have a problem, Houston. We have a huge problem that a conservative is siding with the radical lunacy, communist, Marxist teachers union, the cabal of all organizations that really destroyed hundreds, if not millions, of children's lives during COVID. You have a problem when the so-called conservative, is siding with the teachers union. Sorry, I went on for that way too long, probably, but I just laughed my butt off. Union, who favored both. Lim reportedly told both, meaning the vaccine and the masking, and the shutting down of schools. And Lim reportedly told school board members Leandra Blades, who was a conservative and friend, and Sean Youngblood, conservative and friend, to give up the fight and to accept what Newsom says. Again, she's siding with a Democrat, a very crazy lunatic governor that we have here in California, says respectively. Neither Blades or Youngblood supported mandatory masks and vaccines. Residents say that Lim later spread falsehoods about Blades. It goes on to say, then this is what happens this week. At a Republican women's meeting, the Pat Nixon organization, this week, Lim reportedly told leaders that they should not allow Blades to address the group, and if they associated with her, it would be a black stain on them. This is the president and the vice president of the Pat Nixon organization. Organizers ignored Lim and did allow Blades to speak, which he did an amazing job, by the way. One attendee was so outraged that he wrote the city council. That would be me. I didn't attend. That's why somehow she thought that I attended, but I just had learned of all this information, so I'm aware of it. He wrote the city council regarding Lim's actions. See letter below. I'm going to read that letter in just a few minutes. I just want to let you know that Lim and then Councilwoman Peggy Huang worked behind the scenes for support and endorsements of Lim. In doing so, Huang reportedly violated Canon 5 election laws while running unsuccessfully for Orange County Superior Judge. Thank God. Canon 5 does not allow a candidate for a judicial office to engage in political campaign activity. Lim was later charged with violations of Yorba Linda Measure Y ethics. And so this tells you that this group of people that seems to surround Janice Lim is also unethical, do illegal things to get elected and to lie about their conservatism. And because our town is essentially conservative, and so that's why she ran as a conservative, because she would never get voted in probably as a liberal. And so she thought, well, what I'll do is I'll run as a conservative and I'll lie and cheat and attempt to steal the election, much like other people in our government. So I'm going to get down to my letter, and what reason I'm reading it is so that you can maybe, now that you learned of the same information, you may want to contact the city council if you live in Yorba Linda. If you are in another town across the United States and you have city council members that run as Republicans and then come out against Republican values or conservative values and are supporting things like the teachers union, whether it's the NEA, the National Educators Association, or the CTA, the California Teachers Association, or your local teachers union, they all are a cabal working together. If you have a conservative siding with them and doing things in line with the teachers union, you must begin to write. You must go to the council meetings and speak out. And here is my letter in regard to Janice Lim. It says, why does Janice Lim continue to attack and obstruct fellow conservatives? PYLUSD trustee Leandra Blade in her duties as a school board trustee and in her Republican Party community activities. This is one of the biggest problems with the Republican Party in our state and nationally. We have far too many people, essentially rhinos, like Janice Lim, who are petty and appear to be jealous of the success of other conservative politicians and personalities. That is just one reason they do it. There's other reasons. Like I said, I think Janice Lim is truly a liberal who ran as a conservative, much like Marilyn Anderson on the school board. We all know what Janice Lim seems to forget is that one of the reasons conservatives like Leander Blades, our school board trustee, like Leander Blades, are successful is because is that a typo? Is because they have a strong support team, and the reason they're successful is because they have a strong support team and a large community following. We all know, in capital letters, that Janice Lim is very active and purposefully undermining not only Leander Blades, but other current and up-and-coming conservatives. I would recommend that Janice Lim either come out as a liberal partisan or straighten up and stop these grotesque activities that hurt not only the party, but the community who is trying to save our children and our state from destruction. I am asking for a response from everyone of the Yorba Linda City Council, especially Janice Lim, in regard to how this is going to be addressed. And like I said, I especially want to hear from Janice Lim about her decision to either come out as a liberal Democrat or that she will apologize to Leander Blades and the community for her actions, and will from now on show support for everyone who is a true conservative Republican. So that is again my letter that I wrote to the City Council and to Nancy, who sends out that newsletter, a conservative newsletter to Yorba Linda to the Yorba Linda community. And so I would suggest that, again, if you live in this community, and I would say even if you're a Republican in the state of California, that you also contact the City Council, because she not only is doing that to the local politics, but she undermines the Republican Party, the county, Orange County party, the state party, by undermining and backstabbing and attempting to thwart their ability to speak publicly, essentially taking away their freedom of speech and in attempting to silence them from being able to talk to the community about the good things that are happening in our city and in our school district from a conservative point of view. And so I would call upon you to, even if you are not in our city, that you would write to your conservative and Republican party and say, you got this lady, the city council member, Janice Lim, who claims to be Republican, who is a rhino and attempting to destroy what it is, what would be the strides we are making to bring conservatism back to the state of California. And so I think that would be a really important thing to do. So let's see if we can't do that. And that is something, again, I talked about this on the Living Fearless Devotional show that I do with my wife, that it's just, and she, of course, agrees because she has a history of working in Washington, D.C. She has worked in campaigns for Republican candidates and different types of campaigns across the United States. Excuse me. And she sees it all the time. She sees conservatives can't simply get along and vote together. I heard that during the speaker's problems that we had in Congress, that one of the Republican congressmen, when Jim Jordan was the nominee for Speaker of the House, that he said publicly that he was for Jim Jordan and thought he would be a great Speaker of the House. And he did not vote for him only because he didn't want to give Matt Gaetz a win. He believed in Jim Jordan being the Speaker of the House, that he would be a great Speaker of the House for the Republican Party, and that he would get things done, and that he would do the right thing, and that he has a great history, that he agrees with all that, but he didn't vote for him as a Republican only because he didn't like somebody else in the Republican Party. That is the problem. That is a sign of where things are headed in our party if we don't straighten it up. It's just head down a road of destruction because we just can't seem to do the right thing, regardless of how we feel about other people. Another thing I want to bring out here. So let me get rid of this screen that I had up here, and I'm going to bring up another one. Hold on here. And that is about, it's the school principal that we have here at El Dorado High School. His name is Joey Davis. And what a tool that we have. And El Dorado High School is the school that my children go to, and it's number 3 out of 5 schools in our district. I'll bring up the stats for what it is statewide and for the country. Now, when you hear a number like 1,500th, 1,500th out of all the schools in the United States, I look at that and say, wow, how are we 1,500th? I mean, we in Yorba Linda in particular, it is not in the school district itself. Yorba Linda, the city, is a fairly affluent city. And then you have the neighboring city, which Brea, which is fairly affluent. You got Anaheim Hills, which is very affluent. Some major sports stars live in Anaheim Hills, movie stars. I think the same thing in Yorba Linda. And then we have Fullerton and Placentia, which the income bill starts to drop just a little bit. The housing is a lot more affordable. It's not that I mean, when I talk about this in this sense, the houses aren't, maybe $2 and $3 million like they are here in this area, but they are $1 million. They are, $1.5 million. There's some houses, of course, that are in the 600,000, 700,000. But given that kind of demographics mixed in with some lower income housing, some apartment buildings, that kind of stuff, like in parts of Fullerton, there is no way on God's green earth that with the talent that we could have as teachers and vice principals and school principals and counselors and all the other people that make up a school district. And let me tell you the number. I'm going to show you the numbers of what they're getting paid, that we should be 1,500th nationally, and in like the 500s of 500th in the state. But yet, Joey Davis, a principal at El Dorado High School, with a perfectly fine demographic of children, is not able to create oh my gosh, the word just escaped me. I'm writing a book about this very subject. It's us culture is incapable or unwilling. I think what it is, because he's in the pockets of the school the teachers unions, just like many other principals and teachers. Not all of them, but many of them. But Joey Davis clearly is a shill for the teachers union, because he supports all the nonsense that they support. And at a very high salary, he has found it unable to bring his school up to a level where it just simply actually should be. And he apparently doesn't care about the dress code. He says he did in a recent email, oh, we gave 27 violations this year. 27? There's something like 1,600 kids that go to that school. I don't know, maybe, 800 of them are girls. When I drop my daughter and my son off, or when I'm there at the school for sports and that kind of stuff, I see 27 dress code violations within 2 minutes of being there, which would be crop tops and short shorts where the cheeks are showing, and strapless tops, and that type of, all the things that fall under a violation of the dress code. You can see simply in just a matter of minutes of being at that school. But yet he writes me an email to say, well, we had 27 violations this year. What? You got to be kidding. You need to do you sit in your office? The people that are also supposed to be taking care of this and watching it, are they actually walking around the campus and looking at what's going on? No, they are not. And so you got rapid drugs that are happening, drug use happening in the bathrooms. I hear about it from all my kids. I've had 3 kids go into that school this year, and all of them have reported that nonsense happening in the bathroom and in the recesses of the halls and corners of the school. I've even heard of sex happening in the bathrooms. And many of you are probably saying, it's high school. And back in my day, there were people smoking, smoking in the bathroom, smoking in the boys' room, that kind of stuff was happening. But I'm pretty sure it was not to the degree of where it is in these schools. Now, you may say, well, you're a dad now, and so you're more aware of it. Okay. Okay, so let's stop it. We can do that. We can stop it. We have teachers who fly LGBTQ flags when they're not supposed to. We have teachers that are teaching CRT, and again, he'll say they're not, but we know they are because we get reports from our kids that they really fail to understand that our kids go to those schools. They'll send you emails back saying, we're not teaching CRT. Our teachers have been told not to do it. And that our kids come home and say, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what they told us today. They told us that all white people are privileged. Oh my gosh, they told us that cops are bad. We have a friend of mine who told me that a teacher told him that cops are actually killing black children or black people, black men on a daily basis. None of that is true. And so they tell us these things, and then you talk to them. Oh, this stuff isn't happening. I'm telling you, this is happening. We have teachers that don't teach. My son last year was in a math class where the teacher simply was not teaching, and he had to go to the counselor and say, listen, I'm bad at math enough as it is. Can I get a teacher that actually will teach us how to do math and not just hand out a bunch of papers and say, here, fill out these, do the homework and do these papers, but not explain how to do the work on the papers? Can I get a teacher that actually does that? And so this is his school. This is a guy who has no idea what's happening in school. He's been there for 8 years. I'm going to share my screen here and show you what the salaries are the best that I can so that you can see them of what we have and why I say that there's no way. So this is Transparent California, which is a website. Let me make it larger so that if you're watching on a computer, you might be able to actually see this. If you're on your phone, I know it's going to be hard, but it gives you the salaries of everybody in all the school districts, and you can bring in Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District, and this is 2022. So this is last year, and I would say that probably many people have gotten pay raises and a lot of other stuff, and so here we have superintendents. The superintendent of human resources was getting paid $313,000. We had a superintendent. These people are no longer with the school. They've been moved on since we have a new superintendent, but I'm sure these salaries don't change much. We had a superintendent, and this is when things were really bad, and they're slowly getting better. Let's see, David Giordano was getting paid $304,000, and this is total pay plus benefits. So his base pay was $219,708, and then $84,000 in benefits. It doesn't say what those benefits are, but that's a lot of benefits. So a total pay and benefits of $304,000. James L. Sasser, a simply an incompetent boob, who was just not, I think he had a doctor in front. I don't know what he was a doctor of. He was a doctor of shenanigans, getting paid nearly $300,000 a year to do nothing but destroy our school in the short period of time he was with us. You have Richard McCallendon, $287,000. All right, so these are this some of the pay that we're getting. It doesn't go down much either as you go down into the principal. And we have Joey Davis. He goes by William Davis here. William Davis, principal, high school. He gets paid $168,000 regular pay, plus benefits of $58,872, nearly $59,000, for a total pay and benefits of $226,904. So essentially $227,000 Joey Davis gets paid. Now, I don't have any problem with a principal getting paid a lot of money if they're doing the right thing for our schools. He's been a principal for 8 years at El Dorado High School. And just kind of give you a little background on myself. I was a police officer for 21 years. I was a reserve police officer. I started a dog training business where I had something like 15 employees, I think at its height. And then I had a security company that I started in the middle of that had 400 employees. My wife and I also teach high school at Liberty Ed. And so I have a background that allows me to look at what's happening at El Dorado High School from a supervisory standpoint, and understand that I've had as a CEO and president of a company, several companies. I understand what it takes to run a company. I understand what it means to design a culture of success, a culture of exceeding expectations, and not having a culture of mediocrity, and what that difference is, or a culture of what the teachers union wants you to have, which is destruction. And so I understand what it takes to teach children. I've been training police officers, also adults, for 40 years, up to 50 at a time in a classroom, for months and months and months. So that background helps me understand that, because what happens is you go and speak at a school board meeting, or you send an email, and they will send you, well, you don't understand. It's different. There's things that you just don't get when it comes to running a high school as a principal. There's things you don't understand what us teachers have to deal with. All right. Again, I told you I teach high school with my wife at Liberty High. I've trained police officers all over the world for 40 years, 4 decades. And I've run a business of up to 400 employees. And all of these things, you have to create a culture of success or failure. That's your choice. You have a man getting paid, what was it again? A lot of money. $227,000, essentially, rounded up just a little bit. $227,000 for 8 years, and probably got a raise this year, I'm guessing, based on being part of a union that makes sure that you are getting paid way more than you should. And he can't do the job. He's incompetent. He makes claims and emails and gets caught. So we had not a transgender. We had a dancer at the last homecoming dance, which was 2 weeks ago, 2 Saturdays ago. And this drag queen, this boy, it was very confusing, because I got so many emails and text messages and pictures sent to me and people couldn't quite understand, was this a student dressed as a woman, or was this a guest that somebody brought that was dressed as a woman? Nobody could quite understand what was going on. It turns out we believe it was a student in the end, because I got different reports. And so when I sent my email to Joey Davis, I talked about, hey, what is with this drag show or drag dancer, or a person in drag dancing, and what are you going to do about it? How do we get here? How do you get to a point where somebody believes it's okay to get up and dress in drag and to dance and perform for a bunch of kids in high school? Where is it that the girls get up there and dance provocatively, and where they think it's okay? And he types back, he goes, well, all the kids were hooting and hollering. All the kids were cheering for it. And so I write back, I said, no, so let me get this straight. Your criteria as to if this kind of thing is allowed and whether you should allow it to go on is based on the hooting and hollering of the kids. Are you one of the kids, or are you a leader for this particular school, was my question to him. And if that's your criteria, if somebody got up there and smoked and lit up a big fatty, the marijuana cigarette, a big gigantic one, do you not think the kids would hoot and holler? And so based on your logic that if the kids are hooting and hollering, then it's okay, you then would say, well, I guess that's okay. All the kids are hooting and hollering. Let's let them smoke that fatty up there and show the kids how to do it properly, and how to hold it, and how to light it, and how to hold it in for a period of time so that he can get as high as possible. Or I said, how about a girl dressed in a short skirt getting up there and start twerking? If the boys began to hoot and holler and scream in approval, based on your logic, you're saying that that's okay for that to take place because of the kids hooting and hollering. Again, I ask, are you the leader of the school, or are you one of the children, or are you somebody who just simply, that's all you're there for, is to get the approval of the children? I reminded him that he works for the parents, not the kids. His job is to take care of the kids. His job is to create a culture of excellence at that school, not to create a culture of mediocrity to debauchery. And I would say that Joey Davis has created a culture of debauchery, regardless of whatever he sends me an email saying that he has 27 documented violations of the dress code when you have 800 girls and a large percentage of them are violating the code on a daily basis. 27 is only so that you can send that email out to say that you're doing something, when in fact that is a sign that you are not doing anything whatsoever. And so one last point on this is that again, now what I look at is that he's had 8 years. In 8 years, he's been able to take the school, El Dorado High School. Hold on, I got to bring up this other graph here. He has been successful in, it's not, there you go. He has been successful. Wow, a lot of pop-up windows are happening here. Give me 1 second. In, this takes a second to share some of these screens, so sorry. In the school district to bring it, and that's my other camera. I don't want my other camera. I want to bring this. There we go. I want to bring up the stats. So this is a US News, which is a place where they rate schools throughout the nation. And for 2022 to 2023, I think this is for, I don't have it up here. But it's either that or this year, but I'm pretty sure it's for last year because they wouldn't have the stats for this year yet. We have 5 schools in the district. Number 1 is Yorba Linda High School. Number 2 is Valencia High School. And number 3 is El Dorado High School. So in 8 years, out of 5 schools, he's been able to bring it to number 3. And the reason I bring this up to you, and you say, well, maybe they just had, maybe they said they just had better teachers over at Yorba Linda and Valencia. They're all getting paid the same. On the Transparent California, you can see that they're all getting paid, the teachers and the administrators, and everybody's getting paid the $200 and something thousand, or very close, $160,000 and higher, to be teacher or to be a principal or to be a school a sports director. They're all getting paid an enormous amount of money, and it's not like that Joey Davis is getting the lousy teachers or they get paid $60,000. No, the district has spread out, but everybody's getting paid the same. What is the difference is that the principal has to lay the foundation for the culture that is going to be created at the school. And I'm here to tell you that I believe that in 8 years, Joey Davis has created a culture of debauchery and not a culture of success. And again, if I bring this back up again and show you that where they rank in their in nationally and statewide, when we bring up El Dorado, it is the national rankings. It's over here on the left-hand side where you see these little badges, is that nationally, El Dorado was 1,665 out of all the schools in the nation, high schools, and 246th in California, 246th, and 107th in Los Angeles, and number 3 in Yorba Linda. If I was Joey Davis, thank God I'm not. If I was Joey Davis, I would have come in and I would have said, what the hell? Teachers, I would have pulled them into the auditorium and said, okay, we're going to change the culture here. We need to look at what it is we're doing here. Why are we 1,000th anything, anywhere? Why are we 200th in the state? That is very low. Now, I know that, you go to the school board meetings and they'll go, oh, look at that. We're 1,500th nationally. Oh, that means we're like in the top 15%. Do you see what's going on in these other schools? Do you see what's happening in New York and Baltimore and Chicago? Not one kid, maybe 2 kids are graduating at a minimum standard of math, at a minimum standard in English, at a minimum standard of being alive and knowing how to breathe. That Baltimore doesn't have one child in one of the school districts that actually can graduate from high school. That they don't even reach the minimum standard to be able to graduate from high school. When you begin to look around at all these Democrat and liberal cities where these schools are just failing so miserably, it's kind of like what I tell the kids when they go to El Dorado High School. I said, listen, I know what's happening at that school. You're going to dummy school. They've reduced the standards so low in all these schools that if you are not getting A's, something is seriously wrong. If you are not at least getting a B, then we need to look at taking you to a special school, because the standards are so low, that there is no reason that you should not be getting A's. I would say, and I think that many of you would agree, in our culture and the way that these schools are being ran, and the way that the NEA, the CTA, and here the APLE are expecting teachers to do very little teaching and to do more indoctrination, that should be pretty easy. That if you came in as a principal and say, listen, we're not going to do any of that stuff. We're not going to do any of the indoctrination. We're going to focus on education. We are going to make sure that our standards are higher than everybody else's standards. We are going to bring your education up to such a level that we are going to only accept a culture of excellence in the school and no longer accept a culture of mediocrity and a culture of debauchery. This isn't over with my looking at what Joey Davis is doing to destroy El Dorado as a school in the Placentia-Yorba Linda Unified School District. This isn't over as far as what we need to look at as far as Janice Lim from the city council and what is she doing to undermine other Republicans in her party, that she clearly doesn't belong to or shouldn't be in. And we are going to, I'm going to give you further updates. I'm going to look a little bit deeper, but this is what you need to see for now, that we're paying Joey Davis far too much money to just be warm in the seat at El Dorado High School in one of those offices. He's not doing anything else. He believes that it's more important for him to be one of the children at the school and not to be an adult leader. What man would allow boys to dress in the girls' bathrooms, which he allows to do and supports it and says it's okay? What man would do that? I mean, that just on its own just calls me into question who he is as a person, that he is not protecting young girls from boys, and I would venture to say even men, because at 18 years old, these are men that can go in these girls' bathrooms and change and pee while girls are in there, trying to, go to the bathroom and do what they need to do in the bathroom. And here comes a boy walking in there, standing up and peeing in the stall next to them. It is outrageous that you have a man named Joey Davis. I'm assuming he's a man. I don't think he's binary or identifies as a man and is actually a woman. It's possible, who knows? But he actually allows that kind of stuff to happen. Who is he? What kind of man does that? Not a real man in our culture. All right, my friends, I want to bring that to you. Those two subjects are important. And again, I know that you may not be listening from Yorba Linda, that you may be listening from somewhere else. These things are happening in your city too. These things are happening in your state, no matter where you're at, even if you're in Texas and Florida and Nashville. I know these things are happening because I get reports on them and we can see them. See the school board meetings, the recordings that are coming out of those school boards. All right, my friends, that's it for now. I'll see you at the next one. Take care. Talk to you later. Bye.